Welcome back to Radical Metal, where we believe clarity comes through engagement. We believe in bringing your testimony to the table. We feel that bringing your testimony to the table helps you bring dignity to the discourse. And those are our three tenets. We follow those three tenets once again in our continued discussion with Matthew Evans, who is a self-described anon in the Q-Anon movement. While Matthew and I may disagree on many of the ideas and thoughts behind power and how it corrupts or how it may manipulate and its role in institutions and in the media, we did fundamentally agree on one thing, which is honestly the desired end state for both of us and what we both aspire for America, which is to get corruption out of politics. We disagree fundamentally on how we might get there and on the role of our former president, Donald Trump, where Matthew would say that Donald Trump is there for the people and out there and running for president in order to expose the corruption in politics. I would say that while that indirectly may happen, I don't think that is the intention of Donald Trump. Where I would think Donald Trump is really out there for himself, for money, for power, etc. Either way, however it happens, if corruption is out of politics, we would both be happy. And I am fundamentally encouraged that we can come to an agreement on that. Where we also agree is that Bitcoin could play a key role. Because if the people that are corrupt also have the power to print money, and Bitcoin takes that power away by being a self-sovereign tool for currency, which Bitcoin is, then that is something to celebrate and get excited about. More on that in further discussions, but with that, I bring to you Matthew Evans.
Matthew, welcome back to Radical Metal.
Thanks, brother. How you doing?
Good. I know we talked a little bit before I hit the record button, but I apologize. I'm not sure I'm going to have much control over where the sun hits my face, but hopefully it's not too scary.
Oh, you're looking good. You're looking good.
Hey, you too, man. You stay in pretty good shape, it looks like. Do you have a workout kind of plan, or how do you stay fit?
These days it's mostly Peloton, mostly on the bike, work on the bike. So it's not really, I don't do what I used to do. I'm not as crazy as I used to be. So
yeah, well, you look like you're disciplined with your health.
I appreciate you saying so. I'm trying. I'm 51, so got to do something to keep it going, right?
Nice.
So.
Well, so maybe we should recap. Last time was unfortunate because I thought we were having a really interesting discussion, and then my work ruined it because it's we're adults and we got jobs. I want to learn more about the Q and Anon. I know there's a lot of exciting news in Bitcoin, so we're still going to have that one. I think if you'll indulge me, maybe we still have that later, the one after this one, because I'd like to kind of get a little bit more about your perspective from being an anon.
Okay.
What we talked about last time was Trump kind of being the tool to expose corruption, expose the corruption in government, and I think where I thought that was very compelling, and I think is certainly possible. And I want to also give some comparisons. I recently heard a pretty good metaphor that maybe you're familiar with. Sorry, the sun's just like
it's right on the beard.
My beard, sunbeard. Just call me Sunbeard. I had one guy, I was listening to a podcast and heard, he's like, there's the ugly truth and that's what he was explaining about Trump. He's like, he's boorish and all that stuff, but he's saying the truth versus a beautiful lie, which is in his mind was kind of like what maybe the left is doing to us. Left, I don't know exactly what the right words are anymore, because we talk about, hey, there's really maybe not a right and left. Maybe there's just the people who control things and the business class. But I thought that was interesting. So, and that's kind of what Trump said he was going to do. And then I also, was remembering Dave Chappelle saying, hey, look, when Trump got elected and everybody was bummed out, well, a lot of people were. And Dave Chappelle was on Saturday Night Live. He's like, look, this guy came in and said, hey, I know how you're corrupted because I do it. So, and so, hey, it's sort of like, let's bring it into the sunlight. So all to say, I think where you were leading us in our last discussion was that he may be the catalyst for the exposure of maybe a wider corruption and maybe drag it out of the shadows. And where I'm not sure where we landed here, but I think, we talked about and then I'll shut up, I promise. Maybe being a sacrificial lamb, because he may go to jail. I don't know if you believe that or not, but say he goes to jail, but then it still exposes the corruption by what he's convicted for, maybe some other, we can explore that.
Yeah.
Or did we say, because I don't think, do you think he's going, because I think you think he's going to get elected again. Is that kind of where you're not sure?
I'm not sure if he'll be elected. I think he'll win, but I think it'll be stolen from him. So I'm, and I have no problem saying that out loud and introducing that into our conversation. I mean, if you go back and you look at the analytics of the last election in terms of the numbers, in terms of the bellwether counties that flipped, and then the amount of votes which outnumbers the amount of votes of people that voted, it's going to be an interesting. Let's just say I won't be surprised if he doesn't win. I won't be surprised if he wins on the night of the election and then 3 weeks later he doesn't win. Right? Like that has now basically become some version of our normal now, where counties can no longer figure out how to count votes on the same day. Sometimes and to be clear, this is how it was in California before we left, right? Mm-hmm. These things that happen, these anomalies that kind of happen, where it starts one way and then it goes a different way. This isn't me supporting Trump. This is me being down on our electoral process.
Why do you think Trump is running again if he thinks it's just corrupt and that he won't win anyway? It'll just get stolen again.
Well, again, I don't know that he will. I think there's two camps, right? And this is like there's the reason why I say this is because the Bitcoin camp, like the Q-Anon Bitcoin camp, where I tend to get a lot of I have a newsfeed there, thinks it's going to be the biggest rug pull of all. And if you know anything about crypto, you know what a rug pull is. And I mean, if you know anything about life, you know what a rug pull is. But I mean, but the term rug pull in crypto is a very common term because most cryptos are Ponzi's and or pump and dumps, right? So it's very, very prevalent right now that in that community, which is a very MAGA Bitcoin community, believes that it's going to be a rug pull. Now, you flip over into the QAnon community, and the QAnon community is like, no freaking way. He's basically exposing everything right now so that there's no way that they'll be able to manifest enough votes to actually take it away from it. right? So people like, I mean, I just had a conversation with my cousin, who is a hardcore liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Matt, I don't know what to do. Like, I think I'm going to have to vote for Trump. And I'm like, whoa, and absolutely. And here's the thing, man. It's like if he votes for Trump, he's going to plug his nose and vote for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean he's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It just means that you might not have to like Trump for him to do good things for this country. Right?
Sure.
And that's, and I think I'm getting a little bit off topic here. Again, the Q community believes that he's going to wake up enough people that you won't be able to take it from him.
You mean the election?
Yep.
Oh, gotcha. And then, well, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's, I think a few months ago was kind of like, maybe more than a few months ago, the polls weren't in Trump's favor. Now people, even on the left, are really, I think Biden's not pulling high on the Democrat side. There's a guy, I just watched an interview. There's a guy, oh shoot, now I'm going to forget his name. He was primarying Biden, a Democratic congressman. And not because he's not anti-Biden, but he's just, anti-old, the phrase I've been hearing that I've kind of used a number of times lately is Biden's not too old to be president, but he's too old to run for president. That he's still good in a room, kind of thing, but not in terms of mental faculties and stuff, but doesn't have the stamina to do an election. So this guy's primarying. I wish I could remember his name. I just saw the interview, but I have an old brain, I guess. And he's, his thing is like, I hope others join me. I hope we, have more Democrats in the primary. I can just ask a couple questions that are just very curious. I'm just curious about, if you'll indulge me. Can you tell me this? Were you part of, I just remembered this. I have a buddy that I think is now in the Q camp or the anon camp that was very surprising to me. And I just didn't put two and two together until maybe after this conversation. But I remember him texting me on the day right before the transfer of power and the inauguration day. Is that what we call it? And he said, "Hey, how's it looking around there?" And I think he thought that Trump was going to declare martial law and that there would be, National Guard in the street and all that kind of stuff, and that there wasn't going to be a transfer of power. Can you share with me what you thought on that day? If you felt the same way, and why that was a belief, if at all true?
So I think a lot of anons thought that they were going to that we weren't going to actually see an inauguration, like that they were going to storm in, round everybody up, and we're going to see all the perp walks that we thought we would see for the last however many years or what have you. Q is an interesting thing in this sense. Okay, so I mentioned to you, I think you asked me a question last time, and I actually, part of my answer was Q may very well be a psyop on people who basically live in the space where I live, right? I pray that it isn't. What I want is what's best for this country, right? And what Q represents to me is something that woke me up to the lies that we were being fed through the mainstream media. So to your point, the beautiful world over here, and the evil and the lies that we actually really truly live in. I don't know.
When you say I don't know, just for clarity, you don't know where Q's coming from and
Well,
what he's sharing, or
there is
you're not?
mention of martial law in
Mhm.
some of the drops. Okay.
Yeah.
There are statements like, patriots are in control. The military, it always had to be the military or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the exact drop was. And there are a
Mhm.
lot of, like, I would say that to that end, one of the things that I've had to do, is to try to figure out whether or not Q was a 4-year operation leading up to the last election, or if it's just an operation that was meant to open up and wake up a lot of people and is still
Mhm.
actually ongoing right now.
Mhm.
Okay. So Q uses a style that is very, very interesting because it can mean a lot of things, right? Words can have double meanings. Like, again, martial law being declared could still happen, right? Does that, will it? We don't know, but Q mentions it.
Yeah.
A lot of us thought that, again, a lot of us thought that they were never going to Biden put his hand on the Bible. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, I still follow it. I still follow a lot of the stuff, and
Mhm.
and most of us right now, myself included, believe that we are in an exposure phase right now.
Mhm.
That we are currently going through a phase that is meant to show all the corruption to everybody right now. Where that goes, I don't know. Does it go to
Mhm.
Trump being president again? I don't know. Does it go
Yeah.
to RFK being president? I don't know. It's
Mhm.
but let me ask you this. Do you feel
Mhm.
like you're seeing things that you ever thought you would see?
Politically?
Yeah.
Well, I think with Trump, I think the key word with Trump that's used over and over is unprecedented. Sometimes that's been a very positive thing. Um, but I never thought I would see anything at the likes of Trump, starting with Trump.
Mhm.
I think I was expecting, like most Americans, maybe that there would be, right against left, um, and the inherent conflict with our political system since it started. But nothing like Trump. Nothing like Trump. Nothing like his presidency, and then also, and what we've been seeing lately in the Republican Party with the ouster of McCarthy, and now Johnson. Nothing like that chaos either. That's all very unprecedented. So many things are unprecedented that unprecedented is going to lose its meaning.
Well,
Uh,
I ask you that because I think that's Trump is a unique individual, but nothing like this has ever been done to anybody who was a president before. So to sound redundant or to use the word unprecedented in a different way,
mhm, mhm.
add a little bit of inflection to it. Nothing like this has ever been done to anybody who held a presidency before.
Well, so now now you're referring to the what he's been accused of and the trials he's facing.
I mean, add that to the list, though. I mean,
Oh,
they didn't, it was nonstop from the day that he started his presidency. And then he was quiet for a couple of years. And then he announced his presidency. And now all of a sudden we find ourselves here. Right. As soon as he announced, all this started again.
all what started again? The unprecedented stuff.
All the things, the Letitia, New York, the New York AG and the Georgia AG, like nothing was going on. Nothing was going on. But as soon as he announced, it started it up again.
Hmm.
They are terrified of him. He threatens the entire establishment, and they are terrified of him.
I don't disagree with you that um, having a let's it's more than this, but say even just a wild card. Just let's diminish it to a wild card. I think is scary to a lot of career politicians who are probably used to having things a certain way, and also maybe used to having their corruption or the whatever nastiness they're into. If a wild card can threaten that, so and if it's more than a wild card, then maybe more threatening. Well, even though that I could see that being the case, because a disruptor in any form, anything that disrupts the status quo, people can be fearful of. That's how I look at it. But that the trials that he's facing, in my mind, I'm like, it takes a while to put the evidence together and get the witnesses and the court dates and all that. I don't know if that was a silent time. To me, I feel like, and I'm happy to be wrong about it, but I feel like Trump did break the law. And now he's paying for it, to keep it simple.
In which case?
Well, I honestly, I kind of feel like he probably broke the law in all the cases. But
specifically how did he break the law?
Well, I guess in New York, though, I feel this one's kind of a little bit loosey-goosey. Campaign funds to silence, wasn't that the one to silence Stormy Daniels? Then there's the keeping classified documents.
Hold on. Wasn't there a non-disclosure agreement on that?
Well,
didn't she sign a non-disclosure, and then the court actually found in his favor, and she actually had to pay for his legal costs?
Maybe. And honestly, maybe we could just take that. Let's just take that one off the table, and I'll say that was. I can concede that maybe that I don't know enough about that one, and I can concede that maybe that one's just total BS. But I do think the ones with the classified documents, lying about having classified documents, and then also sharing some of those documents with Mar-a-Lago members, like, the recently came out was that Australian guy who was a Mar-a-Lago member that he talked about nuclear subs or something like that. Look, these are all allegations, and I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I should premise with that, but that one feels like that's a lot of smoke to maybe not be a fire.
So did impeachment 1 and impeachment 2.
Well, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, I never was convinced for sure on those.
I mean, and so did Russia, right?
I agree that there was not a lot of there, or it was a little bit ambiguous, and I think that's part of the problem going after. Like, I even thought that initially of this New York case. I'm like, if you're going to go at Trump. Why are you going at him with this first? But who knows? And everybody's innocent until proven guilty. The one, though, that definitely is the one I feel strongly about is the Georgia one, because the phone call of asking for 11,780 votes. To me, that was very offensive and egregious, and that got my goat going pretty bad, because to me, that's where he totally disregarded the Constitution. He had Republicans in place that could have that told him, in my mind, it feels like it, that they told him the truth. Look, they're not there. Now, maybe there's ways to explain that away. I don't know. But to me, again, I come back to this, and I know this is a little bit over dramatic, and this is what blows my mind, that there's not more veterans that aren't mad. To me, that was where, when I signed and took an oath to defend the Constitution, I was ready to die for the country. And that was, I took that very seriously, and I thought that, meditated on that before I took that oath, that yes, I would be willing to die for this country. And to me, that was a slap in the face to what I so solemnly wanted to defend, and threatened what I so solemnly wanted to reinforce. And so that was the deal breaker for me.
So as we watch our economy crumble in front of our eyes, we see World War III forming off in the distance. We're hearing talks of possibly starting up a draft potentially if ever we have to go into another war. And I say this, I bring this up because I hear you, but now we're potentially going into a war. And the people who told us that the guy who was going to take us into a war and destroy the economy are now the people who are taking us potentially into a war and have destroyed the economy. And I hear you saying what you're saying.
But it's, if I could just interrupt I'm not hearing any of that. I know that this is a complex situation, and I do see, but World War III, I see how all this could lead to World War III. I see there's a path there. This is definitely scary, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's guaranteed. You know, I don't know. In a draft, that I haven't heard that. Now, is it possible? Sure. But I'm not sure. You're saying now we're hearing. I'm just sharing that I'm not hearing.
What I'm saying is that we had peace. We had peace. I mean, we were leaving other countries.
But how does that excuse Trump from wanting to find 11,780 votes?
You know what? I haven't heard the recording that you're talking about, and if it's in the courts right now, then again, I think it's just going to be another distraction eventually, and he's going to win that one too. Like
he may, yeah, and he's definitely been slippery. But when you haven't heard that recorded phone call with Raffensperger in Georgia,
the guy with the nunchucks, the guy who didn't do his job as the AG. Okay. No, I haven't seen that.
So is he a rhino too, Raffensperger? Because
yeah.
So why is it in his interest to stand up to Trump and say, look, I tried the votes, they're not there. He's like, you're asking me to find votes that aren't there.
I haven't heard the video or the recording, but I mean, Raffensperger is not a well-trusted person in the world of like where we live. I mean, like I
didn't realize you knew him so well.
I don't know him personally, but I mean, again, this is currently in the courts, and the conversation is what we were talking about is how I believe that this is just another bunch of crap that Trump's gonna beat again. So as it goes to the courts, again, we see it as election interference. We see this as election interference. The guy who threatens their entire livelihoods, lives, existentially threatens them.
Do you think he didn't break any laws then?
I don't know, but they haven't gotten him yet. And it's ad nauseum, man. As soon as he beats something else happens.
Is it possible that the Democrats were going after him and some Republicans and didn't have the evidence and did everything you're saying? Like they're trying to get him on something, and the juice wasn't there. They didn't have the evidence. But isn't it possible in this world that the juice could be there, that Trump could have, just because they went after him before and failed and there wasn't any there, does that necessarily mean he didn't break the law later? And how is it election interference if in fact he broke the law?
It's alleged right now.
It's alleged, sure, but
so has everything else. Okay, let's talk about.
Let me just say, I don't equate what the impeachments, the Russia stuff. I don't equate that with what's going on now. I look at that quite differently.
Unprecedented, 2 impeachments, right? For 3 years, we heard that he was a Russian agent. Debunked. Russian P-tape.
He still might be.
These are years of mainstream media like manipulating information that basically came into people's heads and made them hate him. Like that's where I'm going with this.
But he's just all that's happened is he's become more popular. So how is that strategy even helpful?
But at the same time, there's there's confirmation bias that some people just don't want to like him. And I would suggest to you that this is the one where you see it and you're like, oh, it's got to be this one. We got him.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you, remember, bring your testimony to the table. I'm just telling you how I've come to some perspective. I don't know if they got him. But I do think it's possible that in this case, this is where the law has truly been broken and that the evidence is there. I agree. I don't think it was there before with the impeachments. And I don't know if I agree or not, but I can see that it is possible that it was political and it was a witch hunt to go after him before. And maybe it is related to the threat that he posed to the status quo. And maybe that status quo is pretty ugly, maybe even evil. I don't know. But I do think that if he broke the law, he should be held accountable. Just how if Biden breaks the law, he should be held accountable.
So to that end, Biden's classified documents that they found.
But he told.
See,
them.
Hold on, but
Yeah.
Right, immediately. But wait a minute, he was a senator, and he had classified documents from when he was a senator.
Mm-hmm.
He was a vice president, and he had classified documents from when he was vice president. President Trump is protected under the Presidential Records Act, and he had classified documents. He was actually told that the FBI was going to be coming to Mar-a-Lago inside of a week. We need access to those documents, and they raided his home. So my point in saying this is that that's confirmation bias. Okay, like it's easy to not like Trump, and it's easy to basically be like, nope, this is the one, this is it. He did it. He did it this time. And
well, then the court of the rule of law should do its job and expose it or lose. And
sure.
You know,
Wait,
and same with Biden. If we think Biden should not have legally had classified documents, and was not protected by any presidential act because there wasn't such a thing for a vice president to do or as a senator, then he should face the music too.
It's a two-tier justice system. That's what's being exposed, is that there is a two-tier justice system, and that everything in DC is rigged. The game is rigged. The whole game is rigged. And if you think back to when Ross Perot ran for president, the game is rigged.
I voted for him.
Good for you. You know, he pulled votes away from.
He was my first vote.
Good for you. I mean, he's kind of silly little guy, but look,
I liked him a lot.
What I'm getting at is that, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, Trump is not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. Mm-hmm. He's a populist, and he's a wrecking machine, and he threatens their existence.
That leads to another question I've been wanting. But why does Trump always say, oh, in a disparaging way, oh, that guy's a rhino? But Mitt Romney's a rhino. Well, why is he claiming Republican? Why doesn't he? Because really, Trump is the true rhino. He's a Republican in name only because he's a populist.
So I think what Trump is referring to is that a true conservative Republican, what you would actually, if you were to look up the definition of what you would expect to find out about a Republican. So like, say, for example, if I were to turn on CNN and CNN tells me, oh my gosh, even Adam Kinzinger is saying this, and he's a Republican. He doesn't like their vote. All you gotta do is look at their voting record. Liz Cheney, she's a Republican. Go look at her voting record. Like these two, the policies that these representatives are voting for are not conservative policies. They're actually, in a lot of cases, progressive policies. And that's where why shining a light on what a rhino is important. Mitt Romney is absolutely a rhino. He is a turncoat. In fact, he's a that guy, man. Like, he's also a globalist. He also has his fingers in Burisma. There's a lot of things about Mitt Romney that he's made a lot of money off of, right in front of all of us, that may not necessarily have been done legit.
What was I remember one of them. What was one? There's one company. Was it Burisma too? Maybe it was in Massachusetts. As governor, there's some shady stuff, or at least it was reported that some shady stuff. But I mean, I guess my only point is, if you're going to call people rhinos, but you're a populist, why not own populist? Why even go with Republican? Doesn't seem to capture what he stands for.
Well, I mean, I think he has to, in a two-party system, he can't be an independent right now because he'd never win. So he had to pick a side. And I mean, I'm a little bit more Trumpian because of the fact that, I mean, I lean conservatively. I lean to the right. He's a self-made billionaire. He wants to protect capitalism. He wants to, he's the policies that made him a rich man are what's being watered down over the course of time. And if you're going to protect America for what it once was, or try to get it back to what it once was, trying to get the people to actually stop thinking in the progressive mindset, I think, is sort of where he's trying to go. And let me just be clear, like, there is a difference between a liberal and a progressive, by the way.
Yeah,
there is. And a lot of what these rhinos are voting for are progressive policies. I mean, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that they are progressive people, but their voting record is sure showing that they are not necessarily voting, with the team, So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I guess when I think of a Republican, and this is why I think I'm a Republican, or at least maybe used to be, and maybe didn't call it that, is George Will. You know George Will?
I remember George Will.
He wrote, it's about conservatism, conservative sensibility, I think it's what it's called. It's 500 pages. I got to page 400, then I'm like, okay, I think I get it.
Ooh.
But he's anti-Trump. I think he says he doesn't have a party to go to anymore, which is a lot of these, it's that there's a group of them, that group of folks, that historic Republicans that you'd see in the news all the time, that are kind of like, what's that one group, the Lincoln Society or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd have a good reaction for them, but it's like their mission in life to make sure Trump isn't elected again. I kind of feel like he needs a different name. And why not run independent? He's got, everybody's kissing his ring anyway, to get reelected. I guess I'm curious why he would still need. He's got the base. He's got the important base. And that's why all the other Republicans, with the exception of a few rhinos, are not going against him, right? I mean, he's got control of the party, right? I mean, this is why we got Johnson in power, because he was endorsed by Trump.
He endorsed Jim Jordan, and then he endorsed Johnson after he was actually named as speaker. So I guess I would ask you, I mean, when you have sort of two warring factions inside the Republican Party, you've got the Paul what's his name? Former speaker, Fox guy.
Paul
now.
Ryan.
Paul Ryan. And he obviously handed the gavel over
One
to
of the young guns.
Yeah. got his butt kicked.
Yeah, Ryan McCarthy, and there's another one. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, like what those guys represent is establishment. And you say it's his party. It's his party. I don't think it's his party yet, but I think it's getting there. I think that the Patriot movement that has found its way into the Republican Party is starting to gain some traction. And I think it's also exposing a lot of the rhinos that are in the Republican Party that will ultimately help people, will ultimately help Trump convey his message that these people are who needs to go, right? These people need to get out. If they're going to vote against, if you're going to vote against Jim Jordan, right, then we see you. Jim Jordan's a good dude, and Jim Jordan's a fighter, and he's a conservative, and he represents what most of us want. Somebody who's going to fight for us, right? And I think the biggest difference is when you actually put these people under a microscope. And again, if you study their voting record, then that you have to look at it from the perspective of, are they fighting for me, or are they fighting to hold on to their own power, right?
Do you think that stuff with Jim Jordan, where he was accused of turning the other way with the what was it, the wrestler program, Ohio State, when folks were saying they were abused? Or is that a political hit job?
Straight out of the playbook, man. Like,
really?
It's straight out of the playbook. Like this is the type of stuff that
I'm just curious. I don't know,
guy, man. It's like all of a sudden somebody kind of comes to the fore, right? And it's like, oh man, we really like this guy. Oh look, he did this to some kids. Like, oh look, I was raped by him 30 years ago. Fire up the mainstream media, get your 4 a.m. talking points. Jim Jordan was raped a woman 30 years ago, guys. That's our news tonight. We're going to pump this. And then all of a sudden, you and I are having conversations about something that nobody ever. The guy's already he's already a congressperson, right?
No, I agree. I don't know how I feel about it. I just know that one of the players, I think a number of them, came forward to say that he had done that. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's. I'm just asking you what you think of it.
I think they're all dirty, dude. I think they're all dirty, but I think that some of them are a lot less dirty than the others, and that does not mean that does not absolve Republicans from culpability. There are many people in our government who have stolen our tax dollars to make themselves rich.
Yeah.
Both sides. And that's my ultimate point, which is that, this patriot movement that we see moving into Congress in the Republican Party, keep it going, because the more people that we can get out that are making themselves rich off of our tax dollars, I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. I just want them gone. But I will tell you this, there's less dirty ones on the right than there are on the left. There are. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't absolve them. But I'll tell you what, man, it's just a swamp, bro. It's just a swamp. And it's a very deep swamp.
Is the ultimate goal, someone said once that the MAGA movement is Trump is their Molotov cocktail to government. So is that the thing? Let's burn it down and rebuild.
So to bring it back to Q, in one of the Q drops, I'm not sure which, who's the guy that was in the 300 movie? Gerald Butler, right? Gerald Butler?
Butler, yeah. Gerard Butler.
And Gerard Butler. And, as after 300, he started doing a lot of those like cheesy movies, where like say, White House Down and And in one of them, there's a clip. It's a Q drop, and there's a clip. And Gerard Butler, the quote that Gerard Butler makes in that moment, that Q dropped was, "I'm going to tear the entire diseased temple down." And that's in a Q drop. So what we believe that means is that it is a diseased temple and it needs to be wrecked. Okay.
It's like Jesus in the
In the
court,
temple, with the tax bill, right? Yeah. Yep.
Or well, even Thomas Jefferson, right? He said this is only going to work if you burn it down every 100 years, something like that.
Yeah. Which I'll even say this, man, because I think I'm not sure if we're going to wrap up, but maybe as sort of a segue as we do wrap up, this is why Bitcoin is such an elegant, beautiful segue or move. Because it changes everything.
Well, let me say this to the same point. I mean, do we even need patriots in the Republican Party to burn it down? I mean, it's almost like, isn't it going to burn itself down?
Well, if Bitcoin's adopted in mass, it will. And again, this is a conversation that I'm really excited to have with you because politics, it's just so disgusting and gross, and it just all of it just like when I actually found my way to Bitcoin and recognized, and I also read The Sovereign Individual, which I would suggest you read. The Sovereign Individual basically predicts that that digital currency will basically evolve in the in the information age. Basically, it says we're moving into the information age, which is right now, and that a digital currency will basically evolve, and basically it will just steal all the power. It will just shrink government automatically, and it will steal their power. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is it makes all of these conversations null and void. We can take Trump out of the entire equation, because if they can't print the money, they don't have anything to begin with.
There's definitely a bigger picture than Trump.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bigger picture than, all this stuff. And maybe it's a catalyst, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, because it's hard to find a smart person that's authentic, that doesn't see doomsday coming, at least economically. And we're getting to the point of no return with debt. And it doesn't look like there's no detours, or there's no ways to turn it back. And then you just can't turn it back. And then the inevitable, what seems to be inevitable, collapse of all systems.
There's a lot of pain. I hate to say this, because I'm in the mortgage business. I'm dealing with 8% interest rates. I'm fighting for my life out there right now.
Yeah.
As I watch our deficit grow, and as I watch our federal debt grow, as I watch them spend like unbelievable, crazy people, and adding $2 trillion $1 trillion every other month, to our continually growing debt, and we're moving into a debt spiral, right? Which your steak costs $25 now. Like your food, we went to the store the other night, we bought 6 items, it was $70, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know if we're going to have to go through a crash to get to Bitcoin, but we very well might. And yeah.
Well, and maybe we can either properly set it up for next time, or just go into it. Let's just see what happens. But so tell me this: what do you think? Because I'm feeling ambivalent. I'm feeling excited, but I'm feeling also ambivalent about BlackRock stuff, BlackRock ETF.
Yeah.
Because maybe for the same reasons you may feel the same way. I'm kind of excited that it's going to lead inevitably, I think, to more adoption. I'm excited because I think the price is going to go up, and that's exciting. to see your Bitcoin go up as it has lately, back to 34, 35.
Yeah.
From what 27 in just a matter of a couple days.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
But what does it mean, man? Like if BlackRock can sell that stuff, are they going to hoard it all and mess it up and mess up the Bitcoin dream, or what?
Well, I mean, you can always buy, fractional Bitcoin, right? I mean, you can always buy parts of Bitcoin. I don't think that they're going to be able to. I don't think it's going to mean that you're not going to be able to get to it, because it would be, you can always go to Strike or River or one of the trusted apps to buy.
Can I plug Swan
Sure.
Bitcoin?
Swan, of course.
Swan.
Yep.
If you go to Jesse S at Swan Force, I'll put the link in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
well, I think it's interesting because, look, what we really want is we want mass adoption, right? And, at the pace that that's happening right now, it's going to take 20 years for it to even, it's not moving at a pace that, unless there was a massive market crash, that left us with no other hope but to move into Bitcoin as legal tender. There's really no other way to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have these massive investment houses that want to get in, and a lot of anons are like, yeah, because they see the writing on the wall. They see the writing on the wall because the other choice is for the entire thing to have to go down in order for us to actually move into it. So, I mean, do you agree?
Yeah. I think they see the writing on the wall, which again, it's this weird feeling for me because it's like, okay, it's validating for them, the largest asset manager in the world, plus all these other major institutions trying to get an ETF, and plus all these major banks buying MicroStrategy stock as a proxy for Bitcoin.
Sure.
That's like encouraging to me, or it feels validating. And again, I like watching that price go up, and it's exciting. I'm trying to keep the emotions out of it, as we should with investing, but I just don't know what it means. Like, I don't know if a major institution like that or major institutions are getting it. Yes, good for adoption for sure. That's exciting. But does it mean that, is it just going to be another form of centralized? And I'm not sure how to connect the dots, but I guess it's my fear that it's just going to be still maybe a centralized institution controlling the majority of the Bitcoin. But maybe I got it wrong.
I don't think so. I mean, if you listen to Michael Saylor, the network is too big. The amount of energy in the network is too much. And at this point, it's there. The network was given the opportunity to grow for 14 years. And it has evolved to a point where the network's always going to be there, which is why people like you and me are always going to self-storage our Bitcoin. And what I would also say to you is that people like you and me are going to be the people that are going to be out there saying, don't buy it through them. Don't buy it through them. Buy it through here and then put it into storage, right? Now, where that's going to get interesting is as it becomes more and more available and more adoption takes place, when we start seeing some major gas station just last week said we're going to start taking Bitcoin, right? Like, as those things start to happen, it's just going to find its way into our economy. Certain people are going to feel more comfortable buying it through Vanguard. Other people are going to feel more comfortable buying it through River, right?
Yeah.
As long as you have access to it, you might, what's going to happen though is the price is going to get so big that you're just going to be able to buy. Look, I had a huge month this month. I can buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Okay, great. Well, Bitcoin's at 50,000 now. You know what I mean? Like, great, but it's still going to keep going up, right?
Yeah.
It's going to keep going up, and it won't. And buying as that happens, I think personally, I believe that the dollar is going to continue its slide and continue to be inflated. Now, either the central banks are going to start doing QE again and then turn on the printers again, or eventually someone's going to get in, or the right people in Congress are going to get in, and they're going to tie the dollar to Bitcoin someday. It might not be inside of the next 3 or 5 years, but eventually, I think that you either lose the dollar and everybody goes to Bitcoin, or you tie the dollar to Bitcoin. And
kind of like almost like a retie, like if you were to retie it to gold.
Tie it to sound money.
Yeah.
It's the only sound money, bro. It is the only sound money that exists. Have you read the Bitcoin Standard?
I'm so embarrassed to say that I haven't read it yet. You know what? I bought.
You better not cut that out, by the way.
I won't. I told Camilla. I said that I confessed to her about that too. And then after I interviewed her, because that's how she got, that was the major orange pill. It was some conversations, and then she read that, game over.
Yeah.
And I think I probably have gotten the fundamentals through my own, research, and I had an orange pill adjacent to that book. But right after I bought the book, and then I was going to read it, and instead I gave it to my sister, because I was visiting my sister, and I'm like, you know what, you should read this just to get right in, and then I'll just get another copy. Yeah. So I'll get it. I'll read it.
It's it's kind of it is the Bitcoin Bible. I mean, it really is. But listen, I think it's interesting because, like, if you look at what it really truly is, and if you understand what it really is, it will steal power from them eventually. It will shrink government. It will fix things because they can't just make more of it. So I think personally that the function of the ETFs will be positive in terms of getting eyes on it, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that it is going to be incumbent upon people like you and me to make sure that those people kind of understand that these are the same people that have a lot to do with a lot of the death and destruction in this world today, because of fiat. Yeah. So anyway, I got my kid waking up, and I got to go to a fall festival.
Hey, that's great. Now that would be a perfect lead-in and perfect segue when we meet again, and we'll pick it up, man. And then we're on to Bitcoin.
And then we don't have to talk about politics anymore.
Hey, I really appreciate your transparency, your honesty, your friendship, and I'm so glad we could have these conversations. I'm excited to talk about Bitcoin next.
Yes. I love it, brother. All right, man.
All right, see you, brother. All right. Take care. Bye.